All right, so let's dive into something that I think a lot of us can relate to. Let's say you're Rahul and you're pulling in like $75,000 a month. Not bad, right? It feels pretty good. But then, boom, 45,000 vanishes just like that, gone.
Oof. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right. Those EMIs, man. Home loan, car loan, personal loan, maybe some credit card bills lingering around. Suddenly you realize you're working mostly for the banks. And this isn't just Rahul's story. Honestly, whenever we do those Money Matters segments, this theme pops up constantly. Debt, debt, debt.
Makes sense. It's a pretty universal experience, that feeling of working hard but not making any real headway because so much of your income is going straight to debt repayment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So for today's deep dive, we have a mission. We want to understand this whole loan trap thing, how it happens, how to get out of it. Most importantly, we're going to break down two like step-by-step methods you can use to tackle those loans, one by one. The thing is, the way loans are marketed, it's all about how easy it is. You see ads everywhere, easy EMIs, your dream home starting at just $989 per lakh. On the surface, it sounds almost too good to be true.
It definitely does. And the focus always seems to be on that manageable monthly payment, making it appear like it won't strain your finances too much. But what they don't always tell you is the real cost over time, all that interest that piles up.
Okay, so let's get real with an example. Let's say you're going for a 75 lakh home loan, right? Interest rate is 8% per year. Now, if you choose a 10-year repayment plan, which I think is a smart move if you can swing it, your monthly EMI will be around 93,000 euro. That's a big chunk of your income. But here's the kicker. Your loan starts at 75 lakh, but over those 10 years, you'll pay around 36 lakh in interest alone. That's almost half the original loan amount, just in interest.
And that's with a shorter loan term. Imagine someone goes for the same Euro 75 lakh loan at 8%, but stretches it over 30 years. The bank will be quick to point out that your EMI drops to around 57,769, less than half of what it was for 10 years.
Right, sounds much easier to manage month to month, but that's where things get tricky. What they might not emphasize is that over those 30 years, while you're paying back that same 75 lakh, your interest payments skyrocket to a mind-blowing Euro 1 crore 32 lakh. That's almost triple the original loan amount. So in total, you end up shelling out a massive Euro 2 crore 7 lakh. This is the hidden truth behind those tempting, easy EMI offers. And this idea that smaller monthly payments lead to way more interest paid overall applies to pretty much all kinds of loans.
And the reason behind this is something called the reducing balance. It's how most loans work. Basically, during those first few years of your loan, a big chunk of your EMI goes toward the interest, and only a small part actually chips away at the principal, the amount you originally borrowed. It's not necessarily a bad system, it's just how most loans are structured.
Okay, so let's make this even more relatable. Think back to that 75 lakh loan over 10 years. Logically, you'd assume that after 5 years, from April 2025 to April 2030, you'd have paid off roughly half of the 75 lakh. Right. Seems fair.
It's a common assumption. But the reality is a bit different. After those 5 years, even with your regular EMI payments, you'd likely still owe around 44 million and 71,000. You've paid a lot, but more of it has gone to interest than actually paying down the main loan amount.
Think about that first EMI payment back in April 2025. You paid about 92,000, but a large chunk, something like 53,000, went straight to interest. Only around 40,000 actually reduced your principal. It's not until much later, maybe around 2034, that a bigger chunk of your monthly payment starts hitting that original loan amount.
And this is precisely why making extra payments, especially early on in the loan, is so powerful. In those early years when so much of your EMI is interest, any extra money you put in goes a long way towards shrinking the principal, which ultimately means less total interest over the loan's lifetime. Waiting to make those extra payments later just doesn't have the same impact.
All right, so we've seen how the loan trap works. Now let's talk about escaping it. We have a 4-step plan to help you start clearing those loans. Step 1, get organized. You need a detailed list of all your loans. An Excel sheet works wonders for this. For each loan, you need 5 key things: the original amount, the current balance, the number of EMIs left, your current monthly EMI, and the interest rate. Also, calculate your debt-to-income ratio. This is your total monthly EMIs divided by your total monthly income. It shows you how much of your earnings is going toward debt, giving you a clear picture of your financial breathing room.
Taking stock is crucial. It takes your debt from this vague, scary thing into concrete numbers you can work with, understand, and plan around.
Absolutely. Step 2, focus your repayment strategy. Studies show that people who tackle one loan at a time are way more successful at becoming debt-free than those trying to chip away at everything at once. You'll still make minimum payments on all loans to stay in good standing, but any extra money you have should go toward a specific loan. So how do you choose which loan to attack first? That's where our two main repayment methods come in.
We have the avalanche method. Think of a giant snowball rolling down a hill. It starts big and just keeps growing. With this strategy, you prioritize the loan with either the highest interest rate or the biggest monthly EMI. The logic here is purely financial. You're hitting the most expensive debt first, saving the most on interest in the long run. However, the loan with the highest interest or largest EMI might also be your biggest overall debt, so it might take longer to get that first satisfying feeling of paying off a whole loan.
And then we have the snowball method. Picture a small snowball at the top of a hill. It starts small, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow and gets bigger. Here, you focus on the loan with the smallest outstanding balance, regardless of the interest rate. The goal is those quick wins. Paying off a smaller loan gives you a huge mental boost, a sense of progress that keeps you motivated, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed by debt.
The psychological impact of those early wins with the snowball method can be huge, but there's a potential trade-off. By focusing on smaller balances first, you might end up paying more total interest if those smaller loans have lower rates than your bigger ones, compared to using the avalanche method.
Out of these two, do you have a personal favorite or one you see working better?
For people feeling really buried under debt, the snowball method often works wonders. Seeing those loans disappear, even the small ones, can really keep them going.
Okay, let's see these two methods in action. Say you've got two loans. Loan 1 is for $10,000 at 15% interest over 36 months. That's a 347 EMI. Loan 2 is for $1 lakh at 9% over 5 years with an EMI of about $2,075. Let's say after your financial checkup, you've freed up an extra $578 each month to put toward paying off your debt faster. That's the difference between the $3,000 you could potentially allocate and your current total minimum EMIs of $2,422.
If you stick to the minimum payments on both loans without any extra payments, you'll pay about $2,984 in total interest over the life of both loans.
So with the snowball method, you put that extra under $578 each month toward loan 1, the smaller one with the 347 EMI. Adding that extra amount helps you pay it off way faster. Once loan 1 is gone, you take that 347 you were paying on it and add it to loan 2's minimum payment, along with your extra 578. That's the snowball effect. You have more and more money to throw at your remaining debt. In this example, the total interest paid on both loans would be around $24,157.
And with the avalanche method, you'd start with loan 1 because it has the higher 15% interest rate. You'd put your extra 578 toward that 347 EMI. Once loan 1 is cleared, you redirect that entire payment amount plus your initial extra payment toward loan 2. In this case, the total interest on both loans would be around $2,565.
You see the difference in total interest paid. The avalanche method in this case leads to a lower overall interest cost, but snowball gives you that quicker sense of accomplishment by knocking out a loan sooner. The best approach depends on your finances, how much you hate debt, and what keeps you motivated and consistent. Okay, step 3, especially important if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of spare cash for debt repayment, debt consolidation strategies.
This is about finding ways to lower the overall interest you're paying on your current debts. One common way is loan consolidation. If you have high-interest debts, like credit cards with rates of 35–50%, think about consolidating those balances into a single new loan with a much lower rate. This could be a personal loan at around 14–15%, or even a loan secured against property, which could have a rate as low as 8–10%. The difference in interest you pay over time can be huge. Imagine consolidating $1 lakh of credit card debt at 35% into a personal loan. At 15%, you'd save $20,000 in interest each year.
Another thing to look into is balance transfer offers on your credit cards. Many companies offer introductory periods with super low, even 0% interest when you transfer balances from other cards to theirs. It gives you time to aggressively pay down that debt without piling up more interest during that promotional period. Just make sure you understand any transfer fees and what the interest rate will be after that intro period ends.
Refinancing loans is another good strategy. You're basically taking out a new loan with a better interest rate and maybe different terms to pay off an existing loan. For example, let's say you have a home loan at 9% interest, but rates have gone down since then. You might be able to refinance your mortgage at a lower rate, maybe 8.5% or 8.25%. It might not seem like much, but even a small decrease on a big loan, like 50 lakh, can mean big savings over the loan's lifetime. We're talking thousands, maybe even lakhs of rupees.
Don't be afraid to negotiate with your lenders. Tell them about your financial situation and that you're looking to manage your debt better. Ask about getting a better rate, extending your repayment period to lower your monthly EMIs, or even a temporary break from payments if you're going through a rough patch. Lenders often want to work with you. They'd rather get some of the money back than risk you defaulting on the whole loan.
Exactly. It's always worth that conversation. Now for the last step in our plan, a thorough financial audit.
It's about honestly looking at where your money is going. Start with what we call a money leak audit. Track every rupee you spend for a few weeks. With UPI payments everywhere, it's easy to miss those small expenses. The euro for coffee, the 120 for a quick snack. These add up fast. I once talked to someone who was shocked to discover they were spending over 7,000 others every month just on food delivery. Finding and plugging those leaks can free up a surprising amount of cash.
Then think about some temporary lifestyle changes. Could you switch to a cheaper phone plan? Cancel any unused subscriptions like streaming services or software you don't use. Cut back on non-essentials like entertainment or eating out for a while to free up more money for paying off debt. Remember, these are often short-term sacrifices for long-term gains.
And look for ways to earn extra income. Even a small boost in your monthly earnings can make a big difference in your debt repayment journey. Think about tutoring, starting a home-based food business. A cloud kitchen can keep initial costs down. Freelancing, or taking on extra work or overtime. We recently spoke with someone, Garima, who realized that an extra $4,000 to $5,000 a month could completely change her ability to manage debt and even invest better for the future.
There's a helpful principle called the windfall rule. Whenever you get unexpected money, like a bonus, a tax refund, or a random payment, try to put a big chunk of it, at least 50%, ideally 70%, straight towards your loans. Enjoy the other 30–50%, but prioritize using that windfall to reduce your debt.
And for those who have some extra money each month after covering essentials and minimum payments, there's the Rockstar method. This is especially powerful for long-term loans like mortgages. The idea is to bump up your EMI by a small percentage, say 10% each year, and make one extra EMI payment annually. Be sure to tell your bank that the extra should go toward lowering your principal balance, not just shortening the loan term while keeping the total interest roughly the same. If you have a 25-year home loan and stick to this, you could pay it off in just 10 years, saving about 60% on total interest. The goal is to attack that principal amount and shorten the loan term, not just lower your monthly payment.
It's a great way to become debt-free faster if you can manage it. You're really focusing on reducing that principal and minimizing the total interest paid over the loan's life.
You know, I've seen how stressful debt can be. Growing up, my family used credit cards a lot, thinking it would make things better for us, buying stuff we needed, things that felt like progress. But we ended up spending money we didn't have and got stuck in that credit card debt cycle. Juggling cards, calls from loan companies, the worry of bounce checks, even some pretty unpleasant situations. That's something I've lived through, and I hope none of you ever have to experience it. I get how it feels to be trapped under a mountain of debt, lost, and not knowing where to start, like life is passing you by while you're just trying to stay afloat.
That feeling of being trapped by debt is real and can take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. It's not just about the money.
But I can tell you, if you approach your loan strategically, understand the terms, and have a solid plan, you can absolutely get rid of them. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time and discipline. It took me 16 years to pay off all my business loans, education loans, and finally my mortgage. Becoming completely debt-free at 40 felt amazing, like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. That feeling of freedom is what I want all of you to have.
It's a journey that takes patience and effort, but that freedom from debt is worth it.
So start by creating that loan inventory. List every debt, understand each loan's terms, and decide which repayment method, the efficient avalanche or the motivating snowball, fits your personality and situation best. Taking control is the first step toward financial freedom.